Hey, hey, hey. What's up, Twisted people? It's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. And I am here joined again by the lady who made it possible because she made me possible, my mother, Karen Robinson. Yes. And today we are doing we're doing Evil, the show Evil, because I was telling y'all that I really, really have been enjoying the show and I want to talk about the show. I want to review these episodes of this very well-written supernatural show. And but we're going to jump right into it. So we're not doing like a recap of like everything that happened from season 1 going into season 2. We'll talk a little bit about the previous episode. C is for Cop. Just to talk a little bit about what has happened on the show, where we're at. And then we'll talk about S is for Silence. We want to talk about the overall grade that we want to give this episode, and then kind of our overall thoughts of where we think things are going, like the overall plot. Where's all this leading to? We're still on some of the bigger play things that are going on in the show. So, lady, let's start with it in terms of overall thus far. What are you thinking about season 2? Overall, we'll talk about season 2 and let us know. It's always great. Thank you all who are joining us in the live chat, and those of you who are joining us in the replay is always appreciated. So let us know in the live chat and also in the replay, the comment section down there. What are your overall thoughts of season 2 thus far? Are you liking it better than season 1? Do you think it's stayed steady, that both season 1 and season 2 are great? Or do you think season 2 isn't as good as season 1? Let us know. Lady, what are your thoughts? What do you think of season 2 so far?
I think it's going the same as season 1. It came into it the same way. Because once I finished season 1, they just went into it. It's like the same, but it's good. Surprising things that had me jump a little.
Yeah, so I agree.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think season 2, in this day and age, it is so hard, I think, sometimes for certain shows to kind of keep the momentum. Sometimes you have a show, and it took a minute for this to get season 2, because I think they took a bit of like a year-long break before we started season 2. And so sometimes when a show takes that long, it can almost come back as a totally different show. Sometimes a show gets new showrunners, new writers, and all this other stuff. But with this team that's behind Evil, this team is behind some other really awesome shows, and so I'm not surprised that the consistency has stayed there with it. And I definitely feel like this show has stayed consistent. I fell in love with season 1. And season 2 has a little bit more of a sinister, it's all been sinister.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more fast moving, I feel like season 2 is. But a little bit more, not monster of the week, but a little bit more particular cases with season 2. I felt like season 1 kind of had it so everything felt like it was building up to one big thing. Season 2 may well be that as well, because I felt like season 1 did a good job of things were building up, you just didn't know they were. And I feel like season 2 is kind of doing the same thing, where things are building up, we just don't know just yet how it's all connected. And I feel like they're doing the same thing with season 2. So I am really enjoying this show thus far. And thanks for joining us, Laundry Day. Laundry Day is saying, I like this season. I like it on the streaming service better. I agree. And we'll actually talk about it for S is for Silence, because it's on streaming, it's actually able to push the envelope a little bit in terms of certain things they can show, which we saw in S is for Silence in terms of certain thoughts David was having during a prayer scene. So I do like the fact that we're getting it on the streaming service, because I think they have a little bit more space to do some of the things they want. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining us in the live chat. Always a pleasure to see y'all here. Right now, we're basically just starting off talking about just overall thoughts of, if season 2 is better than season 1 or if it's staying steady. And I think my mom and I are both in agreement that, season 2 is staying steady, and season 1 was already up here for us in terms of the writing and everything like that. So, okay, so where we have it, and before we go into S is for Silence, I feel like We got to talk about C is for Cop a little bit, because that was the previous episode. And since we're starting these reviews a little bit in the midpoint, like I was saying, we're not starting all the way from the beginning, because we kind of want to keep with the pace of the show. Vera, thanks for joining us. No, you are not too late. We just started getting started. We're like 5 minutes in, kind of just starting with overall thoughts and things. So thanks so much for joining us here. Thanks for joining us, Josh. How's it going? Thanks for joining us as we talk about Evil. Always pleasure. So we have to talk a little bit about C is for Cop, because C is for Cop basically, in a way, tied up a loose end that I wasn't sure how they were going to tie up, which was Kristen killing that guy. And they tied it up in a way that I didn't think they would. I honestly thought at some point she's going to get caught. We're going to have a whole thing of a trial of her having to convince people that she was possessed or something like that or whatever. But I felt like they tied it up in a way that, one, went along with how unexpected this show tends to be when it comes to its twists and turns, but very much connecting it to the cop theme. You know, we know that there's something going on with this gang that's inside the police. You know, there's some hidden thing going on, and whether or not it's connected to people who are cops who are possessed by demons, or people who are cops who are racist and possessed by demons, or people who are cops that are racist that are just having symbols on their hand representing demons. You don't really know. I did appreciate that they kept that open, but they kind of, in David and Ben getting intimidated at the end of those things, you think, okay, is Kristen gonna have to deal with that? And she deals with it, but not in the sense of being intimidated, but in the sense of being, oh, you're white, let's bring you into the fold. You got away with murder. It's totally cool. I'll just say, yeah, you called us. I'll just say there was a black guy in your backyard and I chased him off. And I was like, whoa. Like, I did not think it was going to go that way. Do you think it was a good, and let us know in the chat, y'all. Did that catch you off guard? Did you think that was the way they were going to tie up the idea of her worrying about getting caught for murder? Because I was surprised it went that way. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad it went that way. What do you think?
I would go another way on it.
What did you think?
That if they did try to find somebody from that he did wrong to somebody, they just caught him, you know.
Yeah. That they just like tie it up on someone else. I don't think
somebody else.
I don't think Kristen was gonna
say a black guy did it.
No, they weren't saying a black guy killed the guy. What I was saying, remember at the end of that episode, she thought she saw the dead guy in her backyard, and so she called Mara for help. And so she had, and when Kristen had the weapon, I'm like, why are you still holding the weapon you killed him with? If they show up, and this is why I thought, and they did such a good job at this. This is why I thought this was going to be the moment she was going to get caught. And she did technically get caught. But when she did get caught, it simply went to, yeah, he deserved to die. Her friend Mira was like, yeah, he deserved to die. I told my boss that basically, who knows, he had a lot of enemies. It may never find him. And then while she was leaving, she did a throwaway line of, yeah, you called us over because you thought you saw something. I'll just tell them you thought you saw, I saw a black guy and I chased him off.
Why?
I think that was thrown in to add to just how deep things may go. Mm-hmm. And I think also to give a jolt to the audience of just when you kind of get slapped with racism being used as a scapegoat right there. It's like, whoa. And I do appreciate this show is really good at kind of addressing certain things. Like they even had the showrunner, McGiger, the guy, I forgot his last name exactly, saying, he was like, I tried to do diversity. You have, you do Black Lives Matter out in the streets. Everyone cheers. You try to have a show that talks about Black Lives Matter and people turn the channel. And I said, and I thought when I saw that and see it was for Cop, I was like, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes in Hollywood. I feel like, when it comes to shows that portray, I don't know, diversity and things like that. I honestly think Hollywood does diversity wrong sometimes because instead of just casting people in just regular roles, they always try to make a show that has like predominantly Black people and things like that. They always try to make it kind of preachy. And I'm like, of course you're going to turn off people. Why can't we just have a regular fantasy show with Black people. And yes, you can talk about race occasionally, but it can be just as good as any show with white people and things like that. And I felt like they kind of went meta there in having him talk about that. So, but I was glad that they had to go that way with Kristen being caught and kind of it being like, yeah, she's a white woman. She's got to get away with this pretty much. Jaws is saying she gets completely off with white privilege and connected to the plot. Exactly. I thought that was really well done. Jaws is also saying, I was surprised, but not really, which is realistic, unfortunately. Exactly. It was realistic that they were like, hey, he deserved to die. It's cool. Wink, wink. And we go. Vera is saying, a very special episode, C is for Cop. I hate that her cop friend blamed an imaginary Black man for lurking. Exactly. And you know, it's funny because I didn't dislike her friend Mira. Even after the conversation they had earlier in the episode where Mira explained how she at one time thought she saw a gun on a person, but it was because like 70% of the people that she had been arresting up to that point had been Black. I side-eyed her when she said that, and I thought, okay, she's got bias, but it didn't seem like she was overtly like racist about it in that sense. But then at that moment, at the end of C is for Cop, I was like, oh, she one of those. You're friends with a Karen. Like, okay. Not my mom whose name is Karen, but like the white Karen stereotype. My mom hates that they have the name Karen for weird white women. So yeah, Jaws is pointing out, yeah, I'll say a Black guy was back here and we scared them off. Like, exactly. It was so jolting, but I love that this show really takes you in a direction you sometimes don't think it's going to go. Vera is saying, I was glad it went that way in terms of her getting caught and it getting wrapped up. I think her friend was low-key trying to help her get her story straight. Exactly. In a way when she was talking about, so your kids would say that, right? And everything like that. So that episode was something. And it did touch on the idea that Christian's mom is on some weird stuff too, which we didn't see much in S is for Silence, but in C is for Cop, we definitely saw that Christian's mom is something's going on with Kristen's mom. I don't know what exactly, but it's not looking good, y'all. I don't know if she's possessed. I don't know if she's gone kind of crazy. It's kind of weird that Christian's not noticing this at all too, that her mom's acting kind of weird. It's also weird that the daughters
weird.
Yeah, and it's weird that the daughters, except Lexi, kind of noticed, but no one else is noticing that something's going on with the grandmother. Not sure what is exactly, but I guess we'll see where that's leading in terms of like her making sacrifices and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what we were just saying, Sabetti. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. We were just bringing up, like, what is up with Kristen's mom? Like, what is going on there? And C is for Cop. It was just like she's making sacrifices to some doll, and I'm like, what? Where is this going? I'm not saying it came out of nowhere, but I think there's something definitely going on there. That's like, when did this happen? Was this when she was dating the guy?
I think so.
Did that start, or was she always kind of like that, and it just started like building up or something?
No,
what do you think, Mom?
I think it has something to do with him, because when he starts seeing her, he just, in a way, he manipulated her into seeing him. Mm-hmm. He manipulated, then he manipulated her and said, oh, you can see me, try and go against her, even though her daughter told her about him.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Then he tried to get rid of her. And that's what caught me off guard. He smacked him and everything, told him something.
Yeah,
but see, I don't know if she got her own agenda or what,
That's the question. It's like she, when the daughter asked, should I lie for my mom? She was like, no, you shouldn't, dear. And it was like, wait a minute. You didn't want her a couple episodes ago to basically snitch on you. You scared this girl about snitching. You totally was like, yo, you don't snitch on me to the daughter. And I was like, whoa, grandma's kind of, aggressive. And then she turns around like, oh yeah, no, your mom wants you to tell the truth all the time. And I'm like, what? What happened to no stitches? Snitches get stitches. What happened to that? What happened to her telling her that? What's going on? Johns is saying Mira blaming it on an imaginary Black man just confirms that is actually just racist and circles back to their talk earlier with her experience as a cop. Exactly. That Mira is racist. I think the other question is Mira in on the whole thing with the sigils? Or is she just racist? And that Mira has a racist, Christian has a racist friend, and maybe she didn't realize that. Jaws is also saying, I don't know what they're doing with Christian's mom, but they're definitely building it up. So Betty is saying, I feel like Christian's husband does not like her mom and may know something about her. Yeah, I feel like maybe he's always gotten a weird vibe. We saw that in season 1. The dad, Christian's husband, was kind of, not getting along with the mom, and kind of like, maybe he just didn't like her vibe, Jaws is also saying, I think she's demon adjacent now she's affected. There's definitely something going on with her. Vera is saying she was definitely suspicious when she told when she told Lexi to hit that girl in season 1 and then lied and said she didn't, right? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, the snitches thing. But then she turns around and tells Lexi, oh, your mom wants you to tell the truth. She doesn't want you to lie for her, really. Like, what? So Betty is saying, when Leland dumped her, she said, you're not the first demon I've dealt with. Oh. And see, that's what's so funny. That's what's so funny, so Betty. You make a very good point, because I thought, I think all of us just thought, this is just her talking about men. Like, I've dealt with demons before. Yeah. But maybe she actually was talking about an actual demon. Maybe that's it. Vera saying, Grandma is crazy, looking forward to the next episode, right? It's just weird. She's on some weird stuff. So I just kind of wanted to touch on those major 2 points with it that happened in C is for Cop, because we don't really, because S is for Silent is very much a very focused episode, but there were some plot lines going on in C is for Cop that I did want to touch on, particularly like we were just talking about Christian's mom, the whole thing about them tying up her getting away with murder. Although I don't think Christian's completely out of the fray on that, because there's definitely, if we go by David's vision some episodes ago, that there's something that involves Christian where maybe she's heading towards a dark kind of path.
The devil, when he was cleaning the field.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely something going on.
Yeah, I think that's going to come back for her in a sense. And that the cop, how they was leading up with every different sign there was. I think that's going to lead up to that with the cops and everything that carry the symbols or whatever.
Yeah.
But, since we ain't going back to 1, I wanted to. But his father said, remember the symbol his father had on
the sigil? Yeah, there's different sigils, and his dad had one.
And he said, but I use mine for a different reason. I don't use it for that.
Yeah. It's weird, the sigil thing, and I love that the sigil situation has been going on for 2 seasons, right? That there's something going on with this army of demons, and they're building up various things. Yeah, and it kind of, exactly. And we kind of see bits and pieces of it in pretty much every episode. I think S is for Silence is probably the only episode, is an episode where we didn't see the sigil, any kind of sigil kind of thing going on there. But in the other ones, there's usually some reference to one of the sigils that they have, right? So there's definitely a buildup going on there. Joss is saying, laugh my ass off. That's the thing with this show. You never know what's literal or an expression, and they're constantly playing with that. Exactly, because when the mom said, you're not the first demon, I just thought she meant negative men. I didn't think she actually meant real demons. But we might, with this show, who knows? We might actually be dealing with the fact that she dealt with real demons, y'all. I mean, that's the great thing about this show that I really love, because it takes certain tropes and then it kind of just either subverts it or takes it in a totally different direction. It's such a fresh kind of take on things that we have going on that I think is really interesting. Oh, the other thing that happened in C is for Cop was Ben's situation, where we find out a little bit of a backstory with Ben, that he worked at a company that dealt with genetics, and he thought that it was a way to help children with disabilities. And it turns out that the genetics he was dealing with wasn't great, and that it left a lot of children affected. And that's some guilt that he deals with. And so right after that, he ended up being a contractor. So we found that was kind of cool to find that out about Ben. Although, who knows, this may come back to haunt us or haunt Ben as his night terror is haunting him. Because why bring that up randomly, right? And we all know from season 1 that these demons have been dealing with children and bringing children about that already are influenced by demons. So if Ben's situation is connected to that with some kind of genetics for young children, who knows? Because I don't think it's random that they had this revelation about Ben and what he used to deal with. What do you think? What did you think of that, lady? Them bringing up that backstory with Ben and the genetic thing.
I was kind of shocked on that too.
Yeah,
but I don't know what Ben's going through either. He's having night terrors.
Yeah, Ben's having night terrors.
So I'm just trying to understand the lady part with the.
Yeah, he's got him and her, and Christian's got George, who we haven't seen in a while, but George still narrates for us.
Hi, this is George.
Yeah, we love George. My dad's name is George Jr. Jaws is actually pointing out, well, the flies left a sigil in the people, but it was debunked. Yeah, it wasn't. We got to talk about. I was itching after the end of S's for Silence, y'all, but we're gonna talk about it. Sabetti is saying, I want to know if we will see Michael the Archangel again. He was scared. I loved Michael the Archangel. I love that they're taking this stance that the angels aren't these like pretty, necessarily humanoid looking creatures, because my understanding, and y'all can let me know for those of you who are familiar with the Bible. I've read it. I've actually been telling myself I want to go back and read it again very soon, because I think it's got some cool stories in it. But and I feel like in the First Testament, the angels in the First Testament book were described in having like multiple eyes and all types of stuff. And I think that I've seen a meme online that talks about the way angels look in the First Testament book and how scary they look, like fire and swords and everything. They look kind of like monsters almost. So I love the fact that evil's kind of playing on, in my opinion, I feel like evil was playing on Old Testament angels and the way they look. But let me know, y'all, because I think I'm correct. I don't know if you know, Ma, that Old Testament angels didn't look as human as the New Testament ones did. So, hi, Pato. Say hello. Yes, Pato's here, y'all.
Hey, Pato.
Okay. Jaws is saying, I think that's why Christian's mom keeps signaling out her one daughter, because she's a product of those demon kids. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you, Jaws, because we found out that Lexi was brought about with the same kind of situation that the other demon kids were. So that's also surprising, but we haven't really revisited that. And or we are revisiting that because this show is really well written, that they are kind of showing that in the background with Lexi and the grandmother. But yeah, you're right that there's definitely something going on where the grandmother is signaling out Lexi. So Betty's saying, yeah, I was surprised by the monster like angel. Vera saying, I think this is more accurate. Yeah, I think Old Testament had it so angels looked a little bit more like, not like humans necessarily. Josh saying angels actually look like they aren't actually beautiful and humanoid, at least not all of them. Exactly. So I think, Pato. All right, you got to go down. You're putting in front of the mic. We love you though. We love you, Pato. All right. So there was a lot going on there, and there's a lot of different plot lines, and we'll go back to them after we talk about S is for Silence. But we got to talk about S is for Silence, y'all. That's Finna right there for those of you who are watching. S is for Silence made me itch. Like okay, so this is a horror sci-fi channel, YouTube channel, y'all. Y'all know that. That's kind of what I specialize in on this channel. But you'll learn about me. One of the kind of things I tend to avoid is stuff that deals with flesh-eating creatures and bugs. I do avoid bugs. I don't usually watch horror movies or anything that have to do with bugs because it grosses me out. I itch. It's a whole thing. I even thought about it in the middle of the night, Ma. Like last night, I randomly woke up because I do that. I randomly wake up at like 3 or so in the morning and to then try to go back to sleep. But my mind, I kept telling my mind, don't wander to the evil episode. Don't go to the evil episode. And then I started thinking about it and all that stuff of the things crawling under the body. And I started to itch in bed. I started to think, because it's, you know, it's summer over here in LA, as always. And a fly had got in that day. And I started thinking, where did that fly go? Where did that fly go? I don't need it landing anywhere. Not that it was a bot fly, but I got real creeped out. It was so gross, but so wonderfully written and well done. But I was so grossed out by S's for Silence in a good way, though.
But I see how he got. But what I didn't understand, that part when Ben was going back down into the thing.
Yeah.
What was he taking a picture? I didn't quite see what he was taking a picture. I know I saw something, but I didn't. What was he taking a picture of? But he was running like hell to get away from it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But my guess is he thought he saw a shadow overtaking the light. But we're not sure. And this is another thing about Evil that I really enjoy. They don't tie up everything completely all the time. They kind of leave it open to interpretation. And we'll talk about that because there's a thing left open to interpretation when it comes to Finna and the Stigmata situation. So we'll talk about that in a bit because that wasn't exactly done away with this episode. But yeah, this is Finna. We all fell in love with Finna Jaws, as Jaws is saying, love Finna. She was so sweet and we love her. And I kind of hope this is not the last time. I kind of feel like this is not the last time that we are going to see Finna. To be honest with y'all, I think we're going to see Finna in the future because, like I said,
and the other girl.
I don't. What other girl?
That other girl that came back. The one that talked to God too. Somehow
we're talking about this episode, Mom. I'm just talking about Finna for this episode.
I know. I'm just saying that, and from season 1, she's gonna come back. They're gonna bring her back in season 2 too.
Okay.
Somehow God.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm talking about Finna right now. I don't think this is the last time we're gonna see Finna from this episode. I think her and Christian came and bonded, and I think we will see more of her because, you know, we'll talk about her whole Stigmata thing in a second, in a little bit. Yes, Josh, her and Christian were so adorable. Spetty is saying Finna was so sweet. The fly stuff was gross, right? Ma, did you itch when you saw that? Because I itched.
I just grinned.
When those things busted out of her stomach, I got up. I got up for a second. I can't do bugs. I cannot do horror bug stuff.
Oh my God.
Because they always do that. They always go under the skin because isn't that the biggest fear, right? That something's going to burrow under your skin and it's going to bust out, which happens in real life. Believe me, I know that. I had a family member who had a situation like that. And it was not good. It's gross, y'all. Josh saying regular flies are just invasive, to be honest. I'm with you. Yes. Dominic is saying, yes, love the unexpected ASMR scene when they whispered to each other. Yeah, there was a lot of, thanks for joining us, Dominic. There was a lot of like different things going on here. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Robert King, right? Because Robert King's one of him and his wife are the ones who do the show. I believe he also directed this episode. So I feel like this episode was really well done in terms of like the shots and everything and how they did the different scenes. So Betty is answering your question, Ma, when you were asking about Ben earlier. I think Ben thought he saw a black mass, like something coming towards him.
Yeah.
And I believe, Ma, are you talking? Jaws is saying the Asian woman from Queens who talked to God. Are you talking about her? Okay, that's who you're talking about. We loved her too. We also, I think you really liked her, Ma, right? That's who you were talking about, right? I really liked her, and I hope we do see her. I hope she didn't get killed or anything, because it looks like she was in danger too some episodes back. Okay, so S is for silence. Aside from being completely grossed out and scratching myself for hours on end, I'm telling y'all, I can't, y'all. I'm scratching right now. That's how much it gets to me. I really liked the episode. Was it my favorite of the season so far? I've got my favorite of the season, but this is my thing with with evil. The bar is pretty high for me with this show. So most of the episodes are just, to me, really great. And S's for Silence didn't disappoint in that regard. I kind of wondered if I would enjoy this show. I wondered if I would enjoy this episode as much, given that it was in silence, because I do love the banter between the main characters, and I was worried that would get lost in an episode where they couldn't speak. But I felt like I still got that with the writing and kind of the things going on there. What did you think, Ma? Did you think this was one of the top-notch episodes of the season so far? Is it your favorite so far? And let us know in the chat, y'all, and also in the comment section. Did you love this episode? If you had to give it a grade, what would you give it?
I give this episode an A-.
What's the minus for?
The minus is when the part when they got drunk.
You got that? I thought that was cute.
It was cute, but the part when no, it was good. Wait a minute, hold it. There was a part that
there was a part that you thought was a minus, yeah.
What was it?
Well, I'll let you think on that.
I think
yeah.
The part. Oh yeah.
What?
When she was in his room but I don't think she wrote that. I don't think she wrote it.
Okay, but is that why you gave it a lower grade, not an A+? Like, what made you give it an A- instead of a regular A?
Because it started off kind of,
kind of slow.
Yeah.
Okay. I gave it an A. I thought it was a solid. I mean, y'all are going to find probably with this season, unless it takes a total nosedive, I'll probably be giving most of these episodes I've watched so far, I've given most of them A's. In my mind, before I even started this, I would say an A as well. A, if it was intentional, that they left the thing off with Finna. A-. I'll go with you on the A-, Ma, if they just didn't necessarily address it. But this is not the kind of show that just leaves loose ends like that. So I'll give it an A because I do think they're going to revisit the stigmata thing with Finna. Because my main issue with this episode was that they left, but none of them said to each other, like, well, are we going to try to explain the stigmata thing with Finna? Because the botfly thing doesn't explain why she has stigmata going on. But they just kind of left. And I was like, that seems unlike them to not want to address that. They usually are the ones that want to keep addressing it, and the father sends them off to something else.
But I think they was going to try to prove that the guy that they dug up or whatever, that he was preserving everything. But that's when he explained that it was the bees or whatever that was in
the botfly. Yeah,
that was making that sound. Everybody thought it was, and they showed it.
But the thing was, Finna was having stigmata.
Okay, yeah.
But it never was explained. They never got to figure out why she had stigmata. And they left. And I think for me, that's what, if I had to say an A-, I did feel like it was kind of like, so none of them are going to say, well, maybe we should figure out why Finna has stigmata. None of us are going to figure this out. We're just going to go because we figured out the botfly thing. It seemed a little unlike them to leave like that. But I feel like maybe that's why I do feel like Finna's going to come back into play. Mm-hmm. But so Betty is saying, yeah, I was afraid it might be boring, but it wasn't. They worked in all of the elements of the suspense and horror. Dominic is saying the episode next week looks amazing after seeing the preview. I agree. It looks really good next week. Jaws is saying, I was worried about that too, but they managed to pull through and keep up their same banter, but just translated to their body language and expressions. And it made me enjoy the episode even more. Yeah, so Betty is giving it an A-. And yeah, they did not explain the wounds on Finna's feet. So there was that going on. Okay, so what basically happened this episode is that they went to a silent monastery and they had to be quiet for the whole weekend, which is crazy because these three love to talk, more so Ben and Christian love to talk. David does a little bit more reflections a lot of time, but Christian loves to talk. And so, which is made sense because she was the one that ended up uttering the word boo this episode. I figured she wouldn't be able to keep to not speak at all. So I figured she was going to be the one to end up saying something, and I was right in that regard. Did you?
I said you said something, but then when it was trying to say that if you spoke, a demon or something was coming.
Yeah, 130 years, nothing had been spoken.
But when I saw the skeleton, I said, "What the heck?"
That was my other reason why I was going to give it a slight minus. I was like, the skeleton thing was a little cheesy, and usually the effects have been better, but I kind of gave it to them because I'm like, if this is her dream, then it has to be a little cheesy, right? Like the whole thing of the skeleton. So I'm like, okay, this is a little cheesy, but I'll go with it. Do you think, okay, so, I mean, I think this is the question I want to ask you all, and you particularly, Ma, when it comes to evil, because what evil tends to do is that it walks the line where it's like, is this supernatural or is this explainable? Now, we had this thing with this episode where, yes, they were able to explain why Father Thomas necessarily didn't decay immediately and stuff, because it was something going on with the bot flies and all that. They explained that when they brought his body up, that his body also probably brought the bot flies up with them, and that's why it infected the other monks and all this other stuff. But Christian did talk, and that the minute she talked, that cabinet did fly open. So the question is,
what was in the cabinet?
What was in the cabinet? Was it really a demon that was going to be unleashed on the world? And was Christian the one that released it by saying boo? What did you think of that? And I want y'all, I want to ask y'all, because that's kind of the theme I want to play with evil, because they tend to put these questions to us. Do y'all think that there was actually a demon in that box? Because it was dripping goo and everything. I don't know if bot flies do goo, but it opened only after Christian spoke. So the question is, was that real or not? And I'll also say that as much as I do love Christian, I love all the characters on the show, I did get a little annoyed with her a little bit. I get it that she's the skeptic, but I did get a little annoyed that she said boo, because I'm like, you go into these people's place
and you disrespect,
and they told you to put
your to say nothing,
exactly, and they told you to put the thing in and you didn't. And you wait until after you say boo to then put the thing in. And it was like, well, now you already spoke. And I in a way, I want to chalk that up to her kind of going towards evil, hence the name of the show, but her going towards the demonic side, because we've been seeing that. She's been a little edgier since season 1 because...
But she also, remember, I think David was there. She went towards the cabinet and was going to try to open it.
I'm going to open it. And he was like, no. And that weirded me out too. I'm like, why does she want to open this cabinet? They told her that it's closed for a reason. And I was like, she's kind of playing with fire a little bit. And I wonder, Mon, do you also think that might be due to her possibly getting possessed in a way? Like maybe she's dealing with possession a little bit.
I thought so. I mean, I'm thinking that way too, because the way she's acting and everything, like she's, and then she come back to herself.
Yeah. It seems a little weird that happens with her. Yeah. So Betty's saying the writing tablets they had were funny. I agree. I love those things. Jaws is saying it's both. I feel like it's both. I feel like in terms of supernatural and natural, but I would love for them to lean more into the supernatural. Yeah, I think the show plays a fine line, which is very, very different for me with a show like this, because usually you're so used to shows being straight up supernatural, and occasionally there's something to explain it that's not. This show kind of has it so usually it feels like there's something supernatural going on along with something regular, and so they usually mix it in. And maybe that's kind of because that's the message behind the show, that yes, maybe there's supernatural stuff too, but sometimes it's not all supernatural. So I do like that. Although, like you said, Joss, I kind of would like for them to get a bit more into the supernatural, because there's clearly a supernatural plot line going on here with the sigils and the demons, right? So there's that. Jaws is saying, and I think they have been since the season and towards the end of season 1. Jaws is also pointing out that Christian is still infected. So that would make sense if she's still acting the way she is. So Betty is saying, it certainly seemed like she caused the cabinet to open. I feel like she is still influenced by the Djinn. She is more mischievous. I agree. I definitely agree. There's the mischievous side of her that comes out, which I love that she's going through that. But it's also kind of like, you know, I feel like, did she release a demon out into the world? I wonder that. I'm like, did she kind of low key release a demon, and where did the demon go? Did it go into Finna? I mean, there's a reason why this is the thing. They kept that cabinet closed for like 130 years, right? So it was before Father Thomas. So it couldn't have just been the botflies doing it. So I think she might have released somebody. Maybe it happened before, like someone else spoke at that exact moment. But I definitely think something was released. I definitely think that's a thing. But they don't, of course, just like evil usually does, they don't actually necessarily completely confirm it. Then there are times when evil gets really like in your face, like when we see Leland talking to a straight up the devil in one moment. And it's like, okay, so that's totally supernatural. Like, okay, so that's supernatural for sure.
When she sees him, she runs. She's like, "Oh, you!" And then I'll go, "Oh,
yeah." All right, so we had that, and then the main thing we had was Finna with the stigmata. To me, that was left open-ended. For those of you who don't know what stigmata is, I think they explained it in the show, but it's basically when people get wounds that are similar to what Jesus Christ was inflicted with upon his crucifixion, right? The hands. Although it's interesting because when it comes to stigmata, I feel like there's a little bit of debate that Jesus couldn't have been crucified through his palms because his body weight wouldn't have let him do that, and they would have ripped open because it's just cartilage. And so now the thought process is that Jesus was actually crucified in his wrist.
His wrist?
Yeah, because that would have made it so it was between bone. So it's an interesting thing. I don't know if y'all are going to find out as we do evil that I watch and read a lot of different stuff that deals with a lot of this stuff because, you know, I love horror, but I also love the supernatural stuff. But I thought that was interesting because stigmata has been something that's been around for years, people experiencing stigmata. But it's also interesting when you hear that maybe the way we thought Christ was crucified wasn't the way he was crucified, and that people should really be getting, if they were going with Christ's crucifixion, should be getting the wounds in their thing, not here. But I guess that brings it up on whether or not that's mental. Because there was also a debate at one time some years ago on whether someone could inflict stigmata upon themselves. Like if you focus so hard on something and things that you could give yourself wounds through your mental state. I've watched a documentary about that when it comes to stigmata, whether these people kind of just thought so hard about it that they mimicked what they thought Christ went through. Jaws is pointing out, and why didn't we see the demon when it opened? Exactly. But that's the thing. What was it? You know, it's
spiritual, what, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Sabetti is also saying maybe the priest who did the exorcism, the one with the gambling problem, yes, he was there, opened the cabinet. Maybe, but it looked like the cabinet opened by itself. At least that's what we were shown. So, and that was another thing. We saw the disgraced priest there as well. The disgraced exorcist was there. He went to this place in order to get his stuff together. I love how they always connect back. And that's why I say this is not the last time we're going to see Finna, because of the fact that this show is very good at bringing back characters that they deal with throughout the show, how everything's connected. But I want to know y'all thing. Do you think that Finna will play a bigger role as the season goes on? Do you think the stigmata thing will be revisited? What do you think, lady? Do you think they're going to revisit the stigmata thing? Because I don't think they explained it. It wasn't explained. It's weird to me that they left without explaining it, but they left without explaining why she was dealing with stigmata. Well, what do you think?
They might come back to that. Hopefully they will, because it's, like you said, it didn't really explain it. It didn't really wrap it up. But it's going to come back around to it. Because when they report back to their father, they probably talk about what happened. And what she did.
Yeah. And the question will be whether or not they'll pay attention to it. Because
what?
I think Christian might bring it up only because she was pointing it out, as we saw comically, but also on brand, that the monastery was very anti-woman in the sense that the nuns had to clean up after everything. She couldn't even be in the same room. And the question is, if Christian tells them, hey, you know, maybe that thing with Father Thomas isn't sainthood, but maybe this thing with Finna is. Maybe Finna should be sainthood because she's dealing with the stigmata. And it wouldn't be the first time that a woman has been made sanctified or whatever, who's had stigmata. I believe there was a woman in Russia that was some decades ago, where she had stigmata and was also sanctified. So maybe they could do that with Finna, right? And whether or not the father is going to want to play on that, because we've seen it in before where, you know, there's been certain things that the Catholic Church doesn't want to deal with, that they've told them, oh no, we're not going to pursue that. So it'll be interesting if Christian or one of them says, hey, maybe Father Thomas isn't a saint because he's decaying now. Maybe it's Finna. Maybe Finna's the one we need to look into, and whether or not they'll want to follow into that. Mm-hmm. So Betty is saying, I'm not sure they will revisit. Remember the guy's wife who turned into a pillar of salt? That's also true, right? And I still don't know how that happened exactly. Did he burn her or something? Or
in what?
The guy who saw Michael the Archangel and the wife, and that was so sad because she was pregnant and everything, and she turned into a pillar of salt. But the question wasn't that she turned into it. It's like, did he burn her and those were her ashes or what? But you're right, Sabeti, they didn't necessarily revisit that. So maybe they won't revisit the thing with Finna. But I think it would be a missed opportunity if they don't. I think it will be a missed opportunity if they don't revisit this with Finna. And you're right. That's exactly what I was pointing out, Betty. There are many female saints, but like you said, I don't think that the monastery would support that. And I think that is what we may end up coming back to, that Finna, out of everybody in that monastery, might be open to sainthood. And maybe because they're so anti-woman, they may be against that. So we'll see. But we would love to see Finna back for sure. But yeah, overall, I gave this episode an A minus. A minus more so if they don't revisit the stuff with Finna, because I think they really should. I don't know how it would play into the bigger season, but I would love for them to do that. But yeah, this episode was very focused in on. This was very much the monastery. Unlike some of our other episodes where we've had multiple plot lines going on, y'all, this one just basically focused on the monastery. But that's why I think that Finna's going to come back in, because it's unlike them to kind of focus hard on something and then just kind of drop it like that and not get a wraparound somehow. Jaws is saying, oh, that'd be a good twist and would really add to the story and cause a little conflict too. Exactly. Yeah. The whole thing of sainthood and the woman versus how they were trying to get Father Thomas for sainthood. And Sabay saying, I really hope they bring Finna back. They did develop the connection with Christian. I agree, y'all. Okay, so scare factor, lady. We got to talk about scare factor, because one of the things I love about this show is that there's definitely a scare factor in it. Unlike some other horror shows where sometimes the scare factor seems non-existent, this one had these episodes usually have scare factor. So scale of 1 to 10, how creepy and or scary did you find this episode? And let me know, y'all, in the comment section and also in the chat. Scale of 1 to 10, how creepy and or horror filled did you find this episode?
I'll say a 7.
What was the creepiest part for you?
The flies.
Oh my gosh, itchy. Look, you scratching. I will agree with you. In terms of it stays with
so unexpected.
It really was. I wasn't expecting. I was like, whoa, that's the last thing I expected to happen here.
Me too.
Definitely a 9 for me in terms of like maybe even a 10, y'all.
Wait a minute. But did she really pull into her skin and pull?
Well, she did. If you feel like if something's under there, of course you're gonna pull it off. I do it too. People get ticks and stuff. What do? They pull the tick out. It's like, what is that? Ugh. But yes, I'm gonna go. It's like a 9.5 for me, y'all. Maybe a 10, but I think I'm a little biased though, because of the fact that bug horror really gets to me. I can't even sit through the 1980s version of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, y'all. That's how grossed out I am. I cannot sit through stuff like that. So for me, that's up there. I'm gonna give it a 9.5, y'all. Just because the bug thing was so unexpected. I did not see it going that way at all. It creeped me out, and it stayed with me throughout the night. It definitely did. So Betty is saying The Flies alone is a 10. Exactly, y'all. Let me know for those of you who are joining us in the replay, always appreciate it. In the comment section, let me know on a scale of 1 to 10, how creepy and or scary did you find this episode? And what was your scariest moment? For me, like I said, the creepiest moment was when she pulled off and flies burst out. I was grossed out completely, for sure. Also, y'all, if you haven't already, please do give this video a like, a thumbs up, share it around. We love talking evil with you all. Evil the show, not evil in general. We are God-fearing Baptists here. So we'd also point that out. Jaws is also pointing out, yes, this isn't like Charmed, the show where they just drop plots. Yes. Let's not even talk about, we could talk about Charmed when we compare like how much better this show is than Charmed itself, Jaws. I gotta say that because Lord, for Charmed, yeah. So Betty is saying for sainthood, there need to be 3 miracles. So maybe they go back to investigate. Exactly. Yeah. There needs to be 3 miracles, right? So I feel like this won't be the last we see of Finna, but I'm definitely going to give this a 9.5 in terms of the creep factor because the flies alone. But even that moment with Ben in the cave was creepy. You didn't know what that was about, and that was also creepy.
Yeah, it was funny because Ben is the one that's so logical and everything else. But when he was running, like I was kind of laughing at that.
But I would too. I'm like, Ben, I feel you. You be in the dark and you be like, what is that? You be running from a shadow, right? But yeah, overall, this was a solid episode. A little bit more focused in, but I think just as good for sure. And I'm excited about what we're gonna get the next episode, where I think we'll get back into. Yeah, I think we're gonna also get back into the other plot lines that we didn't get to see in this episode that we all are following and seeing where it's going. So Betty's saying, yeah, Ben was a believer then. He definitely became a believer when the fear kicks in. You definitely become a believer. That's for sure. But all right, y'all, that's kind of our overall thoughts. I want to talk. I feel like I want to wait till next episode to talk a little bit more about whatever that is that goes on with Christian and David, because they got an underlying thing.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And she is married, y'all. But I don't know, the way Christian be acting sometimes, even in season 1, I'd be like, is she sure she's married?
Yeah, because she went out a couple of nights and I'm like.
I mean, we can blame. Okay, I kind of blame her going to the bar on the Djinn. I blame it on that. She was kind of possessed with that, but she's been feeling David since season 1.
Yes, I know.
So that was before she was infected. She had started feeling David. So I kind of ship it, but I like her husband too. And that's what I do like about this show. They didn't make the husband like outwardly like a jerk or anything like that. They didn't make it easy for you to kind of want Christian and David to get together, although it's there because they have such great chemistry, right? I think Christian and David have good chemistry, but I think she also has chemistry with her husband. And Renee Elise Goldsberry was also on the show playing the sister of David's ex-wife, and so they also had chemistry. So I'm not putting my feet. I'm not throwing my belt into the ring yet, y'all, on who I ship. I'm more so following the story on this one. I'm open to however they do it. I'd be fine if Christian decides she wants to stay with her husband, but I also would be fine if she tells her husband, lets her husband know, I mean, maybe I need some space or something like that. And then eventually her and David get together. But I kind of want to talk about that a bit more, maybe in the next episode where we see where it goes. But they're definitely into each other, y'all. The question is,
will they get into it?
Will they give into it, and how far can it go? I mean, he's also training to be a priest. So there's a lot going on there, because we got to talk about eventually some point in this show, do we think David should go into the priesthood? Because I lean towards him not doing it because I just don't think he should. Maybe he should become a reverend or something. Reverends in Baptist churches and stuff are allowed to have wives and children. So maybe he should do something like that. I don't know. But there's a lot of questions with that relationship and just where David's going because he's trying to pray.
I love David. I think David's cute, but Kristen.
Huh? You don't want it with Kristen?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Kristen is I feel like she's got a good husband. I feel like she's just going through stuff right now. But I guess we'll see. And Jaws, you point something out too. It's funny because Ben and Christian have the most supernatural stuff happen to them, but their things rarely ever happen to David. It's true. David's the most believing one out of all of them. Yet when it comes to what happens to them, I think maybe it's
what happened to him.
Sometimes, well, David has the visions, right? Because he seeks those out. But in terms of like the real overt stuff, it seems like that tends to happen to Ben and Christian the most, except, David did see the archangel. So that was something. So Betty is saying, I wonder what her marriage was like. We really don't know. Not that it's excuses, infidelity. Yeah, we see bits and pieces.
Where did he go?
He went back out on an expedition with the mountain thing. I don't know how long he's been gone. I mean, the last time they left it seemed like he was only gone for a week or two and then was going to come back. But it seems like he's decided to go for longer now. So I don't know. Jaws is pointing out, nah, I don't really like her husband. I was hoping she was single, divorced when I first started the show. Yeah. Jaws is saying David is disconnected from it all. So I don't think this priesthood is where he needs to be. And so Betty said, I don't like Christian for him either. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll bring someone else in eventually for David. But I mean, by going on what the creators of the show are saying, it seems like they do eventually want the Kings, the ones who do the show, it seems like they do eventually want them to get together, or more so that they're exploring it. But they seem to be pointing out this thing of like, yeah, he's supposed to go to priesthood. She's married. But I would say there seems to be fans who want them together.
Yeah. But they're going to see how his temptation, it's like temptation, and how he resisted.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, right now I don't ship either way. I'm more invested in the story, and I kind of at this point I'm trusting the writers because they've done such a great job that I feel like they'll make it work either way. Although it is kind of hard to deny the chemistry between Christian and David because it's there in spades. They really do. They're fire, There's moments where I'm like, whoa, okay, maybe for you two. But at the same time, like, it just, y'all are so not in the right place, either of you, to have a relationship right now. Like, oh my gosh, you both have so much to work out, like, for like maybe a few years before that even happens,
But wait a minute. But the father don't think it's David. The father think it's Ben.
Yeah, and that's what's so funny too. He thinks it's Ben. I don't even know if the husband's ever even met David face to face. I don't feel like they've had a scene where he's seen them. He's met Ben, but he hasn't met the other guy. I don't think.
They say it's Ben, and the father.
Yeah.
You call to find her. I know if she's with you, I called him and said it's Christian.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, look, I don't care. Just tell me. Yeah. So he definitely expects that she might be stepping out on him. And yes, Betty, I do think Christian has bigger problems than her romantic life. So, no, they haven't met. The husband and David haven't met yet, as Jaws is pointing out. So that'll be something when they do, because there is definitely a dynamic there. I can go either way on it, though. I can go either way. But we'll talk about that as the season progresses, y'all. But any final things you want to say about this episode, lady, besides the itchy flies?
No, I'm just looking forward to next Sunday to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like you're saying, Sabetti, oh God, wait till he meets David, he'll freak. I don't know. Like if my wife, if I'm not around, is hanging out with this beautiful man, I'd be like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't know if you work with him.
Hello.
David walks in like, yeah, we're close. And he'd be like, whoa, no, you're not. You are not working with this guy. That's what I'd be thinking. But yeah, y'all, this has been fun. I love talking the topics that evil brings about. The whole thing of angels, the Bible, mythology. It's so fun to me.
And then some of the things that they go through, you go, well, that is out here in the world now, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm God willing, we're excited about this rest of the season with you all. And thank you so much for joining us on this journey through evil. So yeah, we'll God willing, of course, be here next week and talking the next episode, episode 8. But until then, y'all, stay safe. Don't talk to any demons. Watch out for flies, bot flies, I guess, and bugs in general. Don't lay on the grass with an open wound. Don't do that. I think I've seen too much. What is it? Animal Kingdom was Monsters Inside Me. You remember that show on Animal Planet where the monsters get under the skin? Yeah, don't do that, y'all. Thank you so much, y'all. And yeah, let's keep the journey going. And I'm glad you all are here with us. Until next time, stay safe out there. Okay. Talk to y'all later.